Good evening. A couple of hiccups there as I was trying to start this. First, I decided to try to edit the photo that you see. Mm, it's not an actual photo of my bike that my stepdad gave me kindly, but it is similar. Found it online, and I had to crop it a little bit, and then I decided to add some of the books that I was reading to it. It took a little while. And I started the live stream and realized I didn't have my microphone plugged in. So I clunked around for about 19 seconds and then started from scratch, and here I am. Um, let's see, brief update. I don't feel as amazing as I did yesterday, but I feel pretty good. I woke up and another conversation with my uncle. Again, didn't feel as sharp as I did yesterday, but still a pretty good chat. Decided to quickly get out on my bike and take a nice ride through town. Cool spring day, not as humid or warm as yesterday. To the food co-op and get some bulk brown rice and bulk cornmeal. I'm almost out of cornbread. I'm going to make some more, and this time I'll make it with some more normal flour, so it won't be as crumbly. I was trying to take it out of the toaster the other day, and it fell on the floor and went everywhere because it was falling apart. Still tasty, but that's what happens when you don't use glutinous flour. Um, Starting with a live stream today before blog posts or stories or even reading, either reading to myself or reading the audio-visual books, since it seems like a live stream like this is a good way to kind of wake the brain up. It seems like a good productive first step to sort of find where I'm at. Makes me think of something that, see, back when I lived in northeastern Vermont instead of central Vermont in St. Johnsbury, there was a book group, writing group that I was part of. And there was a guy there who was a poet, kind of an overweight, late middle-aged guy. And he talked about how incredibly important it was to do morning pages, to wake up and have almost the first thing you do to just get some paper and write 3 pages of just whatever's on your brain. And I saw a reference to it later, maybe 6 years ago. Maybe it was only 3 or 4 years ago. Anyway, it's when I was in New Hampshire, as part of a list of 5 things you should do every single morning. And I think in a certain order. One of them was make your bed. One of them was exercise. One of them was drink tea. One of them was write 3 pages. Didn't call it morning pages, call it something else. And one of them was, I'm pretty sure there were 5, but I can't remember the 5th one. I won't pull a Rick Perry, like when he was trying to remember the name of the Department of Energy in that famous presidential debate that ended his presidential run. And he later became the head of the Department of Energy under Trump, where he said he couldn't remember, and then he tried to remember, and then he said, sorry, I can't. Oops. If he just brushed it off, he would have been okay, but he made himself look stupid. Anyway, probably the next step after this live stream, these sort of vocal morning pages, even though it's evening, feel like the best thing to do would be probably to do another audiobook chapter of People of the Deer. It seems to be bringing out a better engagement in my reading than Sand County Almanac, partly because it's more type of writing, partly because I've read it 3 times, so I've got practice under my belt, even though it was years ago. Although I read the first 4 chapters a couple years ago in a aborted attempt to start a book group down in Massachusetts. Might be better to go straight from this to a blog post, something with typing, but still working on the pattern. There's probably an ideal routine. Part of me is wondering why I didn't feel as good today. There's always a question of, what did you eat last night? What, right before bed? The only thing I can think of that I ate differently yesterday than the day before was I had the last 6 pieces of bacon that I'd cooked and put in the fridge 2 nights ago. and maybe that's part of it. It's pretty salty, but I know I had a weird experience a couple weeks ago where I got snacky in the middle of the night and I cooked up and ate an entire pack of bacon. And I was expecting I was going to sleep and feel terrible, but I actually felt pretty good. So who knows? Stomach's weird, body's weird. Um, let's see. Yeah, right. Yeah, the George Orwell chapter from yesterday. I think I listened to two yesterday, spaced out. Um, Second one was dealing with sexuality under fascist authoritarian regimes, and you can see the strains of it, of manipulated, crushed, or distorted sexuality in the Republican Party. There's always been a strain of it. It relates to abortion rights. It relates to puritanical stuff in television. There was a joke. One of the late night comedy shows last night, Seth Meyers or Stephen Colbert, talking about how it's perfectly okay to do stuff with guns on TV, but this late night comedian, he was forced by the censors to blur out a picture of a flower that looked kind of like a penis, and it makes me think of the South Park movie, which made fun of that very expertly. Truly great movie, great music, great wordplay. Although it's incredibly filthy-minded wordplay, and Kyle's mom sums it all up at one point, maybe after the musical number. Blame Canada that won an Oscar, even though it's not the best song. It was the only non-dirty song, so it's the only one they could nominate for an Oscar. But she sums up the whole theme of the movie is just remember what the MPAA says. Horrific, deplorable violence is okay as long as nobody says any naughty words. Okay. Naughty words are kind of like sexuality, I guess. Rebelliousness in a certain way. And that's what George Orwell and Winston link sexuality to in 1984 in that chapter, where he talks about his horrible, loveless marriage to a beautiful woman who was empty-headed and despised sexuality because that's what the party wanted. And she had nothing in her head but party slogans. Perfect. She was a perfect party vessel. No thought crimes. And then while he was writing in his journal about that, he was also writing about an incident with a prostitute who was a prole, a non-party member, lower classes that are sort of ignored and suppressed. And she seemed young on the street, but then got inside her apartment and realized she was really old, but with tons of makeup and no teeth. Still had sex anyway, but because he had to have some avenue for sexuality and desire. And it talks about how sexuality in the world of the party, which is fascism and authoritarianism, is the party wants most of all to destroy sexuality, and if they can't destroy it, to distort it. And Winston comes to the conclusion that it's because desire, passion, sexuality, desire is thought crime. It's a sort of great passion and energy that's not for the party directly. It's not in support of Big Brother or Trump or whatever. So it's a threat to the narcissism, to the control. Your hands and your feet don't have independent sexual desires that have nothing to do with you. That great connection, that pure narcissism, is where other people are just extensions of the self, like hands and feet that I keep referring to. I think sometimes about how what's happened to me in the last 3 years or so, and about how sexuality is kind of not destroyed but distorted in some ways, and feels almost like something, like in a vague way, like Winston's description of his ex-wife. At that time he'd left her maybe 11 years ago because they couldn't have a child, but he described the horrible experience of sexuality with her, and where even when she was embracing him, she seemed to be pushing him away from her with every fiber of her being. Yeah, it's not exactly like what I feel like when I don't have any sexual outlet. But it's there's something sort of, you know, off and weird and icky about it. Something sort of distorted, and I can't really put my finger on it. Um, it's not because I'm corrupted by some authoritarian regime, unless you look at my I don't know, the mental and emotional challenges of the last few years as some kind of fascist or authoritarian regime within my own head. Uh, yeah, who knows? It's maybe something weird to delve into. Um, let's see, anything else? Mm, yeah, I mentioned the cornmeal for the cornbread. I also have good supplies for hummus. I'm almost out of that. It's always fun to make hummus. I may not do that stuff today. I've got cornbread and hummus for tonight, so I may get up earlier and delve into that tomorrow. I don't know what the weather's like. Nice to take another bike ride, maybe even run in the woods. It's amazing how hard a time I have convincing myself to um, go out and to do more elaborate things to stimulate my body and my mind. It's like I want to just sort of be able to sit in the house in the apartment, drink some chocolate and caffeine, and just have that mental and physical balance and sharpness just sort of be there. I don't want to have to shower and exercise in order to get to it. Don't want to have to go out and bike ride. Don't want to have to run. Just want it to sort of be there, right, sort of at my fingertips, like you know, completely obedient, like like hands and feet. Um, yeah. Anyway, I guess I'll call it. Not quite 15 minutes. Yeah, does again. It feels like good sort of wake up for the brain, free flowing, free form, stream of consciousness kind of thing. Morning pages or evening pages, and yeah, seems like I'll start to look at this as maybe the first thing I should do. It's possible that reading some kind of really good book might be something to do first to inject a couple of good ideas into my head and to combine them with whatever I dreamed about. I did have weird dreams last night. I had a finger on them, and they were kind of challenging. Had a kind of finger on them when I woke up, but I didn't, get them down or lock them into my brain enough, and so I can't. Something about a resort, ocean, or was that a couple nights ago? An apartment. It just fragments. It's not even worth rambling about. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening. Have a good evening.